Hey, welcome back to Magic is Fun. My name is Kyle, and for our Thursday video, we decided to do a little something different because there's big news. Battles, the new card type, have finally come to Magic the Gathering. This all started about a day and a half ago when a news article out of Press Start, an outlet out of Australia, released or leaked the first battle, Invasion of Zendikar. Weirdly enough, if you actually go look at the website, it's all taken down, probably because it was done too early. Who knows what day it is in Australia? But that's where we got this card right here, Invasion of Zendikar. And don't worry, we're going to cover it and all the other battles that we know about here in just a second. Why is this a big deal? Well, it's because Magic the Gathering doesn't have a lot of card types. In fact, the last card type introduced was Planeswalkers, all the way back in Lorwyn in 2007, which was 16 or 17 years, 16. It was one of those numbers. It was 16 or 17 years ago. I also don't count dungeons because it's kind of like a one-off thing for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Your opponent can't interact with them, and I don't want to. We all knew battles were coming because of your girl Atraxa right here, and for the past couple months, the internet has been speculating wildly about what battles might be. But we finally know, or at least have some partial answers. Okay, but let's start getting into the battles, and we'll start with the OG here, Invasion of Zendikar. 3 and a green. You can, when this battle ETBs, search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on your side of the battlefield, tap. This battle also is a siege, which we'll get into a little bit what that means, part of which it enters with 3 defense counters. Defense counters work exactly like Planeswalker loyalties, and that's not the last time we're going to bring up that comparison for this video. When the battle ETBs, you can assign a player to protect it, note protect it, not control it, and then all other players can attack down those defense counters, 1 damage per counter, and that's the way that it works. I don't know why, right now, with any of the things we've seen, why somebody else would want to attack it down in, say, a game of Commander. Just know that it is theoretically possible. When the last defense counter is removed from this battle or any of the other battles, this card is then exiled and then cast from exile, transformed to the backside, which in this case is a creature. Interesting note though, because it's cast, that means that things like Thalia will interact with it, your player, when they cast non-creature spells, obviously. It's going to cost 1 more. And also, and nobody's talking about this on the internet, I did some Googling, I'm pretty sure this means you can counter it, right? I mean, am I just like way outside of baseball here? But you can cast spells or counter spells that are cast, right? Like, it's to the point where nobody's talking about it, where I feel like I'm just wrong at this point. But that's a really interesting word choice when they say cast, and they're very deliberate in the Siege Reminder text that this spell is cast from exile for no mana. Just something to keep your eye on, because I do think the word cast is going to have a lot of repercussions moving forward for siege battles, at least. On the front of Invasion of Zendikar, you'll see the little 4/4 down there. That means when this card transforms, it's going to transform into a 4/4. In this case, Awakened Skyclave. One of the Skyclaves of Zendikar has been awakened, and it is a 4/4 with haste and vigilance, and its ability is twofold. It's got a static ability, which means it is just a land as long as it's in the battlefield, which is nice because it does help you from getting stone rained, I guess, because this is second ability, a mana dork. It can tap for 1 of any color here. Couple cool things about Awakened Skyclave. Number 1, vigilance and haste are awesome with this ability. You're able to swing in and then tap it after if you need to. Haste is super huge for a creature like this when it comes back in transformed, which is really nice. And then also, being a mana dork is not nothing. Like, you're obviously in a ramp strategy based on the front side of this card, and that additional mana, so a total of 3, is pretty cool. And the fact that it has haste means you can activate it on the turn you play it. So I'm excited about this one. At uncommon rarity, I feel like this is a really good rate, and it's by far the battle that we know the most about. Also, this card is begging to be put in 5-color green. It fixes because it fetches for 2 of any basic lands, any color there, and it also becomes a mana dork that taps for any color. Those Kami Ward 5-color decks might not just be memes and dreams. This card might actually help enable that, and the fact that the creature on the backside has haste goes a long way to making that strategy possible. So we've got 5 other battles that we need to talk about before we speculate and talk about what battles mean for the format and all that. We'll just go in the same order that Forbes listed them out. We'll talk about our only other uncommon for the day, and that's the Battle of Ergamon. It's just a red and a green, and when this battle ETBs, like any other siege, you assign it a protector, and then for its ETB value, you get a treasure token, and then you may discard a card. If you do, draw another card. And it has 5 defense counters, and when it transforms into a 3/4 of some kind. It's really hard to imagine this card being good in a lot of red-green shells. First of all, you get the temporary ramp of the treasure token, and then you also do card filtering. This works in a lot of reanimator strategies as well, especially at the 2-spot on the curve. You don't have to wait for Fable here. Again, though, like with all these cards, the value is really going to be predicated on what's on the back, but this card at Uncommon looks pretty good so far. Next up, we have the first of our new rares, and that's going to be the Invasion of Fiora. For 4 black, you get your choice of 1 or both destroy all non-legendary creatures or destroy all legendary creatures. It has 4 defense, and when it transforms into a 3/4. I don't know if this card's any good. It depends on what's on the back. It's nice to have the modal sweeper possibility here, if you could build your deck one way or the other, or look at the board and see what the situation dictates. But we'll have to see if it's actually worth the 6 mana to be a sweeper. Next, we have Invasion of Ikoria. This is X green with 6 defense counters. When it ETBs, you can then look through your library or graveyard for a non-human creature with mana value X or less, and then slam that bad boy right onto the battlefield. It transforms into the biggest creature we've seen so far, which is going to be an 8/8. This looks pretty solid to me. This is a reanimator / tutor effect that you can get for any X-Man. It looks great in a ramp strategy, and the fact that it puts it onto the battlefield, not tapped or anything, just right onto the battlefield, really makes me interested in what this card does. It does have a very high transform cost at 6 defense, but you got to think in a deck like this, you're playing lots of creatures, hopefully some big green tramply boys. You'll have the ability to knock down those 6 defense rather quickly, and then get yourself an 8/8 along with the value of the creature that you put smack dab right onto the battlefield. Really good card, and to my mind, probably the best one that we've seen so far. Invasion of Ixalan is next. That's going to be 1 and a green for a 4 defense battle here. And when this card ETBs, you can look through your top 5, then you can reveal a permanent card, and then put that permanent card into your hand. It transforms into a 4/3. I gotta say, this is probably the other candidate for the best. Being able to replace itself with card selection from a permanent from the top 5 of your library looks really strong, but whether or not it's worth it, it's the best, is really going to depend on what's on the backside. Invasion of New Phyrexia is our mythic rare and the last battle that we're going to see today. This card proves once for all that WotC is 100% just stealing ideas straight from the Avengers.
Bum bum. Don't copyright strike me. Bum bum.
As far as what the card does, it is X blue-white, and you can then, when this battle ETBs, create X number of blue-white 2/2 night tokens with Vigilance. And this card has a 6 defense counter. For what it's worth, this card looks like it might be an excellent finisher for blue-white control. Disgusting. Looks like a great late-game mana sink. It gives you the ability to actually get your opponent dead, and it gives you the tokens you need to actually be able to attack down the 6 defense on this battle to get it transformed. Speaking of transforming, you're going to notice there's no power and toughness on this card, and it looks like this here is one of the battles that is actually going to transform into a non-creature. So probably a sorcery, but it could be any number of non-creature permanent. Could be an instant. I don't know. We'll see what it is. But this definitely looks like something that blue-white players are going to want. But knowing blue-white control, the spell probably just says, win the game instantly and then go take your opponent's cards and throw them in a bucket of water because who wants to play Magic anyway? So why play battles? Well, first of all, number 1, they're a new card type, and that's fun. But one of the things that I think makes battles really special and really interesting right off the bat is, at least for sieges, all of the battles are connected to a lot of ETB value, or at least some ETB value. And we've seen that over the course of the past, 20 years be one of the deciding factors in Magic the Gathering power. What do you get as soon as this card hits the battlefield? And these all present you at least some value back, and I would say at least close to, if not a little less, than the actual mana cost that you're putting into the card just for entering the battlefield, not even transforming these things. Another value that we've seen recently are these cards that give you this ETB, but then also give you the ability to transform into a creature on the back, which the majority of these battles do. I'm talking about Fable and Kumano for any of you out there that don't know how strong something like an enchantment flipping into a creature can actually be. Standard defining cards, really, really powerful stuff to give you some incremental value, and then a creature on the back end when you've completed the task. The only backside that we've seen is Awakened Skyclave, and one of the unique things about that card is it does have haste, which goes a long way to making this card look more playable, because you can get in for that 4 damage and then tap it for mana the same turn. I'm not sure how many other colors or creatures on the back of these battles are going to have access to haste, but I would watch out for that as one of the defining characteristics to what is going to make these battles competitive. The ability to access the tapped abilities or swing for damage or get triggers or whatever's on the back of these cards is going to be hugely enabled by haste instead of sitting there and having to untap with a creature in this super, super removal heavy format. Okay, but enough responsible stuff. Let's speculate wildly. All of the battles in Invasion or March of the Machines look like siege battles, all like invasion and then a siege. But that doesn't mean they're the only battles. I'd be surprised if WotC branched out for the first introduction of this card type and gave us something else besides a siege. But with this new card type, it looks like it's here to stay. And what other battles might be introduced in the future? We've got some speculation for what some of those might look like. Just a couple right off the top of Mark and I's head. You've got Blitz, a battle when it ETBs prevents target opponent's creatures from blocking to protect it. So your creatures can blitz in and be able to take out the battle without your opponent's creatures being able to do anything. You've got ambush battles. These can have flash, so surprising your opponent with some sort of negative downside when they least expect it. Attrition, those could have defense counters removed every single time you kill an opponent's creature. Blockades, those things could, theoretically tax your opponent's resources. Maybe each one of their spells or each one of their creature spells one more mana, something like that. There is a lot of room for design here, battle card types, and they're really just as wide as the imagination wants to go. And, we've only known about these for like 36 hours or so, and my mind is already spinning with design possibility ideas. Why now? Why now the time to introduce a new card type after all these years? Well, I think WotC, and this is Mark's point, has finally come to grips with the fact that Planeswalkers really haven't worked, or at least have been used suboptimally, both in Magic the Gathering story as well as their gameplay. And WotC's already indicated that the story, at least, is going to be moving away from Planeswalkers for the foreseeable future. Cynical take, whether that's, a reason because they don't like the design space, they don't like the story. This could also be one of those situations where they put Planeswalkers into the Disney Vault for 5 years, and then in 5 years they have, the awakening, igniting the spark. Planeswalkers are back. Let's sell 1 billion sets with these super pushed new Planeswalkers that we've redesigned. I don't know if that's going to happen, but looking at look at the company we're talking about here, you can't put that past them. What I hope for battles, really, when it comes down to, is I like the card type. I think that the mini game that they create is not super distracting, as opposed to Planeswalkers, where they slap this on the table and then you kind of have to deal with it now, or it keeps getting incremental value. The battles, at least for sieges, they just sit there. They're just there. You can interact with them if you choose to. You can protect them if you choose to, but they're not sitting there the entire time they're alive getting your opponent incremental value. So I already like that a lot better compared to the obvious comparison, Planeswalkers. I do think that game of either interacting with and destroying your opponent's creatures or playing your own creatures to protect the siege is a nice loop, but I think it coincides and complements with a lot of what Magic the Gathering players are doing anyway, and a lot of decks are trying to do anyway, so I think that works. I guess it just ultimately, I hope that these battles are good, I hope they're playable, but I hope they're not format defining. I don't think that Magic the Gathering needs the first new card type in forever to come out and just completely take over the meta and force everybody to be really salty about them because you either need to play them to win or you constantly get beat by them. I don't think that's what you want. On the other hand, if WotC makes these cards and they're so bad that nobody wants to play with them, then of course the internet's going to be like, oh, these cards suck. Why would we even play with them? So it's kind of a catch-22 that WotC's been put in. They need to make cards that are powerful enough to be enjoyed, but not so powerful that they take over the format. I don't know if they're going to be able to hit that, but I think that, at least as far as standard is concerned, it's an interesting problem to have and an interesting design space to work with. And it's not a new problem for WotC. It's just another thing that they're going to have to balance. Then again, though, as far as things WotC have balanced, there have been mechanics, at least in the past, that didn't go too well. Talking about Adventures and Companions. Anyone? Remember those? Remember those days? Let's move on. But enough of what we think. How do you feel? How do you feel about battles? Do you think they're going to be really cool? Do you think they're interesting? Are you excited about them? Do you think they're going to break the format? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Magic is fun. We post new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. If you like the video, if you like the commentary, just give us a little like and a sub. Normally we do gameplay, but occasionally we like to do these big news videos when they come out. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. We hope that battles work out for us and for you so we can keep having fun with Magic.